What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Hold Husband Podcast. I'm your host, Terry Duran. I got my co-host, Jay Bob, on the line with me today. What's good, bro?
What's going on? Looking forward to discussing the trending topics and the topic of the night here. Obviously, as we said before, we have SD missing. Hope to get him back within the next week or so. But I want to quickly remind you, you can catch us on TikTok as well. Subscribe to us on YouTube at Hold Husband Podcast. And for those of you interested in promos or shout outs, shoot us a DM on IG at Hold Husband Podcast, as well as email us at holdhusbandpodcast@gmail.com. All right, T.
I want to start off by giving a shout out to my man, Brother Soul Productions, for keeping us laced with our background music. I'd like to remind y'all to continue supporting us through our Cash App and our PayPal. And I'd also like to remind you that you can catch the audio playback of the podcast every Monday afternoon at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time on thecore94.com. Today's episode is titled The Infatuation Era. And we're going to be talking about the differences between love and infatuation, and some of the reasons why real love is harder to attain in this current generation of dating. But y'all know how we do around here, man. We like to discuss stuff that we've seen trending on our timelines. So we got a couple interesting videos. This first video is another gem from The Wolf, where he's talking about why women or why men are usually seen as the bad guy after a breakup. Let's take a look.
But I'm gonna tell you also, where as men we could be protectors too. You know how I talked about a woman would destroy a good man on his way out? As men on protectors, we don't destroy the woman. Like, we don't. Like, that's the protector in. The protector in me is, you did so much nut shit to me. You did so much fucked up, lying, manipulative, deceptive, narcissist, all these crazy topics that's fucking trending and whatever the case may be. And I would never talk about this shit, because at the end of the day, I'm still a protector. Even if you're in a relationship with your woman, she can do all of, you married, she can do all the nutty shit in the world. You never gonna put her in a predicament to where as though you make her character look fucked up. That's why it's easy for them to get looked at innocently, because as a protector, it's like, I'm not about to make, because at the end of the day, we feel like it still falls back on us, because it still was my decision to be with you that led me to this predicament. So I can't get out of it and try to make it like you this fucked up person, because it's like, well, why you with her? So it's like, I gotta either try to do character management and help you better yourself, or I gotta leave you. Then when I leave you, I get looked at like the nut. So it's really like a funny ass cycle, but ultimately, that's just what come with being a man.
Now, I haven't been through a breakup, but I've seen this cycle multiple times, where, like you said, most guys are not tweeting or sending subliminal messages to their girl and their story and posting posts about that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
that's female behavior. You know what I mean? Like, if a dude did that, like, you gonna be looked at crazy for real if you start behaving like a woman in that sense. And we consistently criticize, like, I hate when people are discussing their real business and they got their phone.
Yeah.
Now, I get it. I can understand a domestic violence scenario where you trying to make sure the situation's on video or something like that. I get that.
Yeah.
But just arguments or disagreements or conversations, that stuff ain't for the internet, and nothing gets solved realistically or in a healthy way when you got other people's comments and opinions coming in on top of it. You know what I mean? So I'm real. I ain't gonna say super strict. I guess I just certain stuff. Or me and my wife have had joint live discussions where we, discuss stuff on camera. But for the most part, man, I would prefer to keep my business private and resolve issues privately. But unfortunately, like you said in the video, once a breakup happens or once a woman is in her feelings or hates you now, that's one of the things that they'll use to destroy your character. It is what it is.
It's an unfortunate situation that better faces, right? It's kind of like, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't here, right? You're like you said, you stay in that relationship, or they're gonna say, well, why you with her? Even though she's all these things you said, she's manipulative, narcissist, she's all these things, and for what it's worth, she's not. You guys, you find out, okay, this is not gonna work because maybe just not compatible together, right? And then as soon as you do break it, like you said, you're seen as the bad guy. She amongst her and her friends or whomever, and then it's even worse if that spills into social media. And women will do the post their business on social media. I think it's never a good thing. Like, nothing good ever comes out of posting your personal business on the social media.
Yeah, especially if she got, if she's a celebrity or whatnot. Like the
Yeah.
guy's always gonna take the L in the battle of court opinion for the most part. I guess can be certain circumstances where the man is vindicated and the woman is revealed to be the problem or the cause of the breakup.
Right.
But like you were saying in the video, like most guys will just take that on the chin. You know what I'm saying? Like you ain't out here. Like I guess there's some dudes that do take the same route as women, but for the most part, like the guys that I know, yeah, we all have private conversations about things that we get on our nerves, and you know what I'm saying, like marriage issues or whatnot. But I'm not about to be online posting it. You know, like come on,
right?
bro. Like that's to me like you're just begging for trouble. I guess. What are your thoughts on people going on like podcasts and whatnot talking about past relationships? Would you consider that to be like the same thing?
Not really.
I mean, like, discussing it during the breakup with the person you're breaking up with, that's like too current. But like talking about your past marriage failures or why your first relationship failed or something like that.
Right. Like I don't necessarily see a problem with that. It's I'm guessing, a lot it's relevant to what you're talking about there. You're not, and most of the time you're not putting any names behind it, right? So you're talking about a past relationship, maybe and maybe you're giving some insight. Hey, this happened. So, you're talking about how maybe you've learned from, that relationship or that breakup, things you learned and things you will or won't do in the next relationship. So I don't necessarily see a problem with that.
Yeah, I guess in the context that he was talking in the video of how men will protect the women's character, a lot of times, like the things that you could expose or to humiliate a woman, like that's not in your best interest long term as a man. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a divorce court and all these type of things where that emotional fuel that her and her attorney will use against you makes the process, harsher. And then when there are kids involved, like I think a lot of guys are cognizant of, I don't want to see my kids to see me dissing their mom or saying something crazy about their mom or, exposing who she really is. Because every woman that have a baby is not this good woman that they kind of get portrayed to be just by using the label mom.
Or just not a good mother, right? Everyone that has a child doesn't make her a good mother just because she simply had a child. But I'll leave that one alone there. So that's all the top for a whole other night there.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I don't really like judge breakups. So like how it's portrayed in the public, there's usually a lot of information or a lot of details that are left out. Because from what I know about most guys, we not screenshotting, we not investigating, we not doing all the stuff that women do when they try to set a guy up to have a folder to make it to humiliate him or to make him look bad or whatnot. But a lot of times in those scenarios, guys have to come with receipts to show bank transactions and how much money they actually gave and how, like when push comes to shove, a guy will get in and start showing receipts or whatnot. But if a guy got to that point, I think the woman had to post an awful lot for a guy to reach that level. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like I said, at that point, look, if you're gonna go out of your way to, sully his name, denigrate his character, I mean, hey, look, he has a right to defend himself there in that situation.
Absolutely. All right, man, let's keep this rolling, man. This next video, I guess, is the ultimate I told you so kind of post. The woman that goes viral, showing off that she recently got me, I guess it's her engagement ring, where she specifically ignored the bad advice her friends gave her. Let's take a look.
They told me not to make his lunch. Oh, okay. They told me not to fold his laundry. They told me not to pay for dates. Take me through there. Take me through there. Now, talk about pack that lunch.
Now, we know that we live in an era where a lot of women want to get married just to have a moment like this, to where they can shit on other women and show off their ring and all this type of stuff. But her, narration where she's talking about she did things that her friends were telling her not to do. Girl, that's stupid. You don't gotta fix no man's lunch. You don't gotta do these type of things. And those are the things that really separate a normal dating situation to makes a man view a woman long term, to where he's willing to accept the commitment of becoming her husband. And her having that mentality to where I'm willing to go against the grain of what these single women are telling me, that in itself gives a lot of optimism that you'll have the type of mentality that will make things actually last, and you'll actually appreciate what the man's bringing to the table. Because a lot of women, the women that just want to get a fancy ring and care how much the ring costs, so they can brag about how many carats it is and this and that and that. Like, those women, that mentality in itself says a lot. So when you end up, they gotta have this super luxurious wedding, they gotta have all these type of things. Yep. Guys that marry those type of women, like, it's hard to feel sympathetic for, because it's like, bro, you should have been able to see through that throughout the time you was dating this woman, and you decided to make her your wife.
Yeah. It's just so funny, something like this goes by. And a lot of women don't go against the grain. A lot of women do listen to their single friends, and because honestly, a lot of women go out of their way to keep other women single. So there's a lot of single friends. You
think that's mostly intentional, or you think it's just their perception of men in relationships is so tainted that they genuinely feel like they trying to put their friend up on game, but they just giving them backwards information?
I think it's, I think it's a combination of both. I think both things can be true at the same time there, because in one instance, there's some that's probably looking at one's best interest, but a lot of times when you see these single friends, they'll low key hate, you're the one in the relationship, they might make little comments and stuff. Some women do that. Problems that, man, you should have saw the comments. People say, well, let's see how this wedding's gonna be next year. I don't know if she's still gonna be married. Let's see if they actually make it through the way. The majority of when they take a comment, we're just hating on this young lady here.
Well, yeah, she's throwing it in their face, so you can expect a response from a lot of women. But the reason that I asked that is because my whole purpose of starting to get into relationship advice and giving a male perspective on things was because I saw how inaccurate a lot of the things that women thought about men were. From women in my personal life, friends, family, my wife's friends, etc. Like, just having conversations with them, their perception of what it is to be, on the male side of things is just so warped. You know what I mean? Like, and their dating strategies were counterproductive to actually getting getting the goals that they wanted. And so when you listen to the things that other women tell other women, it's like, did they just grow up believing this foolishness, or do they know that this is the hack to get a guy to fall out of love, or to no longer want to be with you? But to me, based off, having my platform and all the conversations we've had in the comments, I think a lot of women are just totally oblivious to what the benefits that they get from men, and what the reality of the dating world is, because they very rarely give credit to the things men do voluntarily that they benefit from, because they'll just dismiss it like, oh, that's what he's supposed to do, or oh, like, nah, that's not how men view female behavior.
Right, and I think what it is because no one's actually really told them, like, the men that they deal with ain't because 9 times 7, majority of the men they meet is trying to have sex with them. So, if they're sitting there telling them, stuff that you would say, and they're like, oh, well, damn, this might mess up my chances of, getting sex out of her. So that's why a lot of times women have a warped perspective on, dating and relationships, and, they continue these poor strategies because they're thinking, well, yeah, this guy still wants to sleep with me. So why do I need to change? And you know, a lot of times think about this. Even sometimes even the stuff you post on your page, right, giving relationship advice, it gets a lot of pushback.
Yeah, you hate women. Who hurts you? All the type of stuff. And for me though, the thing about it is I never care. I've had enough experience with women that I know better than to focus on what women say, right?
Right.
So I pay more attention to how women operate. And you don't get to sleep with over 100 women if you don't know what it takes to get women to like you, in real life. And so for me, I got people in real life that follow me. I got chicks that I smashed back in college and high school that follow me. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I got the validation from real life. Like, if I was this fraud that didn't know what I was talking about, like you have so many people exposing me already. But the fact that I when I talk about stuff, it's stuff that you can actually see in real life, and you can have real life examples. Other men, like the followers that I have that I've built relationships with over the years, I didn't know y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like we didn't live in the same cities or the same spaces, but the things that I would talk about were so authentic that guys from all around the world, even in other countries, can relate to it. Like, man, that's how we actually think, how we actually feel, and what we actually observe from the women that we date. So the female opinion means very little in the male perspective.
Right, and in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't. But it was just, it was just funny to see, she was saying all the things that women say, oh, I'm not doing this for my man, or I only do this for, these are husband benefits, quote unquote. You hear that all the time. And she did those things and, achieved the ultimate goal, achieved the end game here, what most women aspire to when they're, when they're dating or in relationships.
Yeah, because see, that's the thing. Like the stuff that makes a person view you as spouse, husband, or wife material. If that's really who you are, those are going to be the characteristics that you exude while y'all dating, while y'all boyfriend, girlfriend, etc. Like being a responsible man that shows that he can provide for a family, that he has discipline, that he has values and rules, and you know what I'm saying, like that he's respected by others. She could see all that stuff way before we got married. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so the situations that come up where you meeting family and holidays and all that, seeing how the people you respect in your family view the person you dating, all that matters. You know what I mean? If you are if you have people that are in a healthy relationships that are like normalized. I guess everybody don't have a family that or somebody that they can trust to give feedback like that. But in my opinion, when you're dealing with somebody that's actually husband or wife material, it's very apparent to the people that know them, have known them for a long period of time, and to the people that you introduce them to. Because your aunts and your uncles and they gonna give you the good or bad, they'll give you that feedback.
No question about it.
Have you ever had a situation where a girl's family interfered with your dating and whatnot, or heard their perspective of?
Yeah, definitely. I've had that before, where the opinion of her mother and sister kind of got in the way of relation, taking that advice. I mean, they might have meant well, but it was just bad advice. Why with him? He's wrong for you, and it definitely had a trickle effect. It had a trickle effect onto the relationship, and it caused a lot of problems. Where to the point where it's just we just decided, okay, it's best for us to just not date anymore, and just kind of go our separate ways. And then years later, she apologized, like she actually did admit, hey, I did take bad advice from my sister-in-law, and it got the best of me. She's looked back.
Too late, though, right?
That wasn't me there. So yeah, that's happened.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of guys talk about that, like the battle where you have a woman that listens to other people more than she listens to her man, or listens to women that don't have a man or never had a man. that I guess it goes back to that question, like, are they doing it to try to poison the relationship to get their friend back? Or do they really genuinely see this as the solution to our issues or perceived issues? Because another thing that I learned is a lot of women view the choices and behaviors that men naturally make as negative because it's not what they would do, or not because it's not what they think. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, in a lot of instances, they punish men for thinking and acting like men, even though they have zero experience being men. So you have to be able to recognize stuff like that. Otherwise, you're gonna be dealing with a woman that's criticizing you that don't know what the hell she's talking about. You know what I mean? Like, come on. I mean, I guess that's part of another thing that kind of gave me the confidence. Like, how you gonna tell me what it's like for a guy to try to smash a chick when you a woman that ain't never had?
But you know what I mean? Like, on social media platforms all the time, you have women telling men what makes a man a real man, right? Well, he's a real man. Real men do X, Y, Z. Real men don't do this. You know, you have women, have whole platforms trying to tell men how to be men.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not to say that a woman can't give insight about males. That's not the thing. But just based off how society is set up and the amount of research or insight that is captured on the opposite sex by the time you're adults and dating, I think men have to put in so much more work to have success with dating that their level of insight on their target is so much higher than what women learn about men. Because a cute girl don't have to do nothing to get attention and have men shooting their shot at her their whole lives. So they never have to develop the stuff and the skills that it takes to actually be somebody pleasant to date, pleasant to be around. And I think that's one of the things that give the guys that have success, there's such a gap between those and the other guys because they specialize in making being with them and dating them a very pleasant experience.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you're a woman that's halfway decent there, you get all the deferential treatment there, right? You're getting in the clubs for free, getting in sections, don't have to lift a finger, right? Guys, you have guys at your whim offering to fly you out and all types of other things like that.
Yeah, and guys don't have it like that. Even the guys that have been very successful, it was not always like that. You have to work your way up the tiers. You observe other guys that got more chicks than you, that get more, you know what I'm saying? Like, you observe all these type of things, and that puts you in perspective in your pecking order. Like, you know what you have to do to get there and make yourself more desirable and to have a higher rate of success. But again, those are the type of things that I feel like give the guys an advantage and kind of separate husbands and fathers, because they know what it takes, to make a relationship work. It's way easier to deal with one woman than 5 or 6. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, all right, man. We're about to take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna be getting into tonight's topic, the infatuation era, where we're talking about the differences between being infatuated and actually being in love, and why actual genuine love is harder to find in today's generation. You are tuned into the How to Husband podcast. We'll be back in a minute. Hi, I'm relationship coach and author Terry Duran, and I am pleased to announce that my book, It's Not That Complicated, is finally available as an audiobook. So if you don't like to read, or you just don't have time to read a paperback book, this audiobook is perfect for you. You can listen to it while you're in your car, while you're at work, etc. In the book, I break down how husband material men think and operate in regards to sex, love, and relationships, and I provide real quality insight on how husband material men approach dating. The audiobook is available on audible.com and on iTunes. All you have to do is go to one of the websites and search for my name, Terry Duran. Go download your copy today. All right, everybody, welcome back to the How to Husband podcast. Tonight's episode is titled The Infatuation Era. And we're just going to be having a real candid discussion about the differences between infatuation and real love, and why real love is so much harder to find in today's generation of dating. So you know me, man. I like to start out by using definitions so we can all make sure we on the same page. So I wanted to start out. So love, if you actually look up love, the definition of love is very, very short and very, very brief. You know what I mean? So the definition of love is a feeling of deep affection for someone or something. That's really it. It don't go into a whole lot of detail. And then infatuation. The definition is almost the same. It's a deep, short-lived passion for someone or something. So to me, it really, the two definitions in themselves, one just kind of implies that it's short term or going to be for a very short period of time. And love is such a broad blanket statement that I wanted to specifically talk about what that means from a male perspective. But I wanted to get your thoughts on that. What do you think the difference are, just from a male perspective, like you infatuate a woman versus actually loving one?
Yeah, and it's funny. When you find love, like I thought it would have a longer definition than what you had. It's like one sentence, right? But infatuation versus love, I think love, like you said, I think it's a deeper feeling than infatuate. Like infatuate is something, I guess, short lived because infatuation is something short lived, right? It's like a euphoric stage of somebody, right? You know, whatever your, I guess, dream woman is, you kind of project it on them when you're infatuated. But I think when you're truly in love, I think it's like person that you find yourself compatible, you see them, I guess, different from the other woman, for lack of a better description there.
Yeah, you know, for me, I view infatuation as kind of like the crush phase, where you got a crush on the chick, and you might not really be talking to her like that, but in your head, you create all these scenarios, you know, these kind of optimistic, you giving her all these kind of benefit of the doubt type of vibes. And so to me, when you actually get to know somebody, when you actually get to know what they about, and you feel like that's somebody that you could be with long term or has your interests in at heart, to me, that's where genuine love comes from. You can have love for somebody and care, but you don't want nothing bad to happen to them. If they need something, some help, you'd help them out. But that's not typically what being in love or love means from the male perspective. Because when we're talking about dating and all that, love for a man does a couple of things. For one, it makes a man use the resources at his disposal for a woman that he doesn't have to do it for. You know what I mean? He's willing to spend money on a woman or use his time or use favors from somebody else. He's willing to do things for you to benefit you and your well-being that he does not have to do. It's all voluntary, right? And then the second thing that I think love does, it allows a guy to put up with and deal with a lot of stuff from a woman that he would not accept from anybody else. You know what I mean? Like slick comments, disrespect, woo-doo, unappreciation, a lot of things that would result in violence towards others, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, or having other people cut off. A lot of guys will accept those type of things from somebody that he's in love with that he would not accept from others. So to me, those are two differentiating things for when a guy's in love. But the problem is, I don't think women recognize the things that they say and do that make a man fall out of love. And I do my best to explain it and break it down, but it's a lot of women unknowingly, they're dating good men. They had good men that wanted to marry them. And through the course of his interactions with her, he changed his mind based off what he experienced and what he saw dealing with her. So I think a lot of women hurt themselves in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what it is, most dating situations don't even make it past the honeymoon phase here. Yeah, and I think what the honeymoon phase, I think it's similar to what we're talking about when you're talking about infatuation, right? The honeymoon phase is, when you begin at the beginning stages of dating, where everything seems to be great, right? You can't wait to go see this person, and you're maybe starting to spend nights at each other's houses, having sex, all that good stuff. But then it just kind of just flames out for one reason or another. Or you figure out you two aren't compatible together.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of things that make that harder to sustain. That excitement from having somebody new. I mean, that's human behavior. Whenever we get a new car, a new
Yep.
computer, like those first couple of months that you have the new product, you paying attention to it, which is drastically different 6 months, 8 months, 12 months down the line. And so for the honeymoon phase of the relationship, part of what makes it so euphoric or such a good feeling is both people are actively avoiding the conflicts. Like you're not
Yeah.
talking about the stuff that get on your nerves. You're not bringing it up. You're not having a heart. You're not trying to hold her accountable for the lies or the inconsistencies in the things that she's told you and what the reality is. Like during that honeymoon phase, I think, and guys in general, I think guys operate where they focus more energy on what they like about a woman than what they don't. And I think that's kind of flipped for women where all they can pay attention to is what they don't like about guys, what they, what I'm saying, what annoys them about guys, and they don't observe or pay any attention to the things that they do like. I think that's what, at least for guys, from the male perspective, that's what getting through the honeymoon phase, and then that reality hits in, where like, damn, she don't never pay for nothing. She don't never really reach. You know what I'm saying? Like once you start hitting out the kind of realities, your feelings do change.
No, absolutely. And I think it's on both sides. You said you start to realize after after that honeymoon phase, like, hey, she don't do this. She don't never. You say she don't never pay for stuff. Hey, she spending nights out. She don't even attempt to clean anything or wash no dishes or anything like that. Whereas a woman, I guess sometimes it's later on down the line, maybe a year or so, where they realize, well, this wasn't I wasn't compatible with this guy, or you end up realizing, hey, he was on, he was doing fuckboy stuff, and with women they find that out kind of later on too.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's more to it than that to me. I think once you start dating somebody seriously and you trying to figure out if you could live with this person or you could be with this person long term, I think you start observing their personal how they move, how they operate. What's their housekeeping skills like? What it look like when you went to their apartment? You know what I mean? Like, how are they handling they bills? Like, the kind of, I guess it depends on who you are as a person, but I guess when I was trying to determine if things would become serious, I would have more in-depth conversations, right? And so where you have these conversations to figure out the compatibility. What does your idea of parenthood look like, or of a healthy household? Like having those kind of conversations, you have to reach a certain level to even do that. Because if you're just trying to smash a chick, it does not benefit you to have a deep conversation that will reveal to her that you don't view her as wife material. You know what I mean? Like that's counterproductive to your goals if you're in your whole phase. So a lot of guys will avoid having deep conversations for that very reason.
Man, I think you shouldn't. I think it'll make it easier because then you'll figure out if this person it's worth going forward with this person or not. But and honestly, the percentage of people generally looking for a relationship is dwindling down. Now, I have my thoughts here. Why do you think it's dwindling down?
I think a lot of people are just the fear of the breakup. I think that has a lot to do with it. When you look at the divorce rate, when you look at how women respond to having their heart broken or, breakups in general, I think that's kind of led to this era where women only want men to pay for their stuff and they only view men for what they can do for them. And a lot of guys just don't want to be used. Like if they can get time, attention, and sex without committing to a relationship or having to deal with the possibility of divorce, most guys are comfortable signing up for that. The guys that have SD's perspective where, I really want to be married and my parents is married and all that. That's very few. You know what I mean? Like the guys that are in the 6-figure range and having successful women and can, even if it's short term, I think most guys are perfect. I think guys have accepted that their whole life. Like if you having success with women, you have to cut off somebody. You got to get rid of somebody. Like so it's it's the norm. You know what I mean? Like so, and if you actually make the experience that the woman has dating you as a pleasant one, you're gonna always have access. You know what I mean? Like even if it's once or twice a year, you could link up with somebody. If she really likes you and she enjoys her time with you and y'all ain't on bad terms, there's always the possibility of something like that kicking off. So I guess it really just depends on what the guy's goals are. I think the percentage of guys that want to be married and have families is falling drastically for a variety of reasons. But I mean, it wasn't that many guys looking to get married 20 years ago when I got married. You know what I'm saying? Like it was already a thing to where being single was kind of viewed as the bachelor lifestyle was the goal for a lot of guys.
Yeah. No, I see. That's a great perspective. I think there are a lot of men that are just checking out relationships because a guy doesn't want to be in a relationship that doesn't. I feel like at the end of the day, a relationship should be mutually beneficial, right? So guys don't want to be in a relationship, a one-sided relationship or an exploitative relationship where, like you said, women's just looking to exploit what he can do for her, whether it's pay a bill, give her a luxurious lifestyle. Those things, man. It's like men just don't want to sign up for that. And I don't blame them. That's not something I would want to sign up for. I don't want to marry somebody where, okay, I'm working, all these hours to provide for her, and a potential family, and I'm not benefiting out of it in any way, other than maybe just sex. And at the end of the day, in sex and relationship, that's supposed to be a given anyway. So it's like, okay, well, what else you got?
Yeah, that's where I realized that I'm inexperienced in it. Like I haven't had to date and just live as a single man and be dealing with single adult women. Me and my wife got together in college. So I was already an adult, you know what I mean, living on my own and whatnot. And she was a transitioning adult. She was, in college is a lot where most people get their freedom to where they come home when they want to, they go where they want to, they make their own decisions, etc. And so she was making her own money and working and all that, and we were coexisting as adults within a college, college university setting. So we were able to establish that we were compatible and to merge our finances to some degree while we were still in college. And what I mean by that is the spending the night I'm at your apartment, you in my apartment. We eating dinner together, so we coordinating around 6 p.m. and where we gonna eat. All right, I'm gonna go to Olive Garden and pick us. I'm buying 2 orders of food. Like that's when I realized me and her was serious. Where I'm like, well, damn, what we eat? What we eating for dinner? Like, let me call her and see if she's getting dinner, if I'm getting dinner, to where her well-being started to be part of my daily routine. Like, all right, well, we sleeping at your crib or we sleeping at my crib. Like I had to start coordinating my days with her. And then the thing that really kind of sealed the deal, when people couldn't get in contact with me, they would calling her. Yeah, so I was like, damn, they associate me with her that much. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. That's when I realized things were serious, and that's when I realized we was compatible. Even then, I really wasn't thinking about marriage. She until she brought it up, I didn't even think we were like at the age you could get married. You know what I mean? Because I told you, man, I never viewed myself as a marriage type. So I just figured to be honest, I looked at it like, oh, I could fuck with her long term, you know what I'm saying? But I never thought I could get married to no woman. Women started to get on my nerves after a certain time period.
And she ain't get on your nerves.
I mean, she did, but she did things that made it to where she did things that other women didn't do. You know what I mean? Like, so this is my first adult relationship. So it was doing Thanksgiving dinner at the apartment type stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never did that. Like, I never had to think about how we gonna do Christmas, and I don't know. Just be prior to that, I was just always doing my own thing, and then once we got serious, I started coordinating everything with her, and that's when I realized that we were kind of merging our lives together, unexpectedly. It was a little premature for me. I wanted to stay single and just do my thing throughout my college career. And she started applying a lot of pressure for me to get in a relationship that last year. So things got a little drama, a little, unpleasant situations.
Gotcha. I mean, these things are just interesting and good to know. I always, when people get mad, I just wonder how that goes.
So for you, have you ever lived with a woman, or what's the most serious that you, or the closest you've gotten?
No, I have shared the living space with a woman like I've lived a couple of times. And it's interesting, right? Because you start to really. I always say this: you don't really know somebody until you actually live with them, right? Because you see what their living standards are, what are their habits, whether how they have, cleaning habits. You see all that stuff in real time, right? Not just something that they tell you and you just kind of just more or less got to take their word. No, you're seeing that stuff. So and you got to figure out, okay. And there's going to be some things there's going to be some things you do that they don't like, and there's going to be some things that they do that you might not like. But it's just like, how do you deal with it? That's one of the biggest parts there. I think that honestly, that's really make or break in a relationship, when you're sharing a living space and mixing lives together.
Yeah, that reality of coming to live with somebody and it reveals who they really are as a person. And that don't just apply to romantic relationships. A lot of roommates, best friend, homie situations can fall apart over that as well. And it's funny, me and my best friend were just kind of having this conversation about how I knew, like, damn, I realized me and him would be good roommates. Because in high school, like, my mom, every day I had to come clean up something. I got to vacuum, I got to do the dishes. Before I could turn up or go do anything, I got chores to do, right? And so when we got to the age where he had a car, we'd be trying to go somewhere, and I'd be like, "Oh, you gotta help me. You go vacuum. I'm gonna go clean the bathroom and load the dishwasher." You know what I'm saying? So he actually would help me with my chores and stuff, so we could have time to go kick it and all that. And so I was telling him, I was like, "Man, the fact that you didn't even live with me and you would help me with my chores, I think that let me know that if we would be good roommates together." You know what I mean? Like, so it was just stuff like that to where he realized why I keep my house a certain way because of how my mom was, you know what I'm saying? Like, so when we were roommates, it worked out really great because we was already cool, but our living situation was already established because he seen how I was living in high school. But when you dating somebody, well, from a dating perspective, there are certain things. This is the thing that got on my nerves the most, but you just come to accept that it's part of reality for the most part. Dating a black woman is the bathroom sink, the flat iron, curling iron, this,
makeup,
yeah. Guys are really simple: razor, this and that, toothbrush, this and that. So the amount of stuff that black women have for beauty and hair and all that was an adjustment.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think, right? Men by nature, men are mostly minimalist by and large, right? You go to most men's apartment, right? You just got a couch, a TV, you got some clothes, shoes, and simple little clothes, and that's about it, right? You go to a woman, she has a whole bunch of stuff in her apartment, right? Clothes, shoes, these flat irons, makeup, you name it, she has it.
But you know what? I just accepted it, like, because she had so many clothes and so many shoes and all this. And then it just dawned on me, like, man, if she didn't have on all that stuff, I wouldn't have liked her. Like, I can't kind of penalize you for the stuff that attracted me to you in the beginning. Because how a woman dresses, her shoe game, all those are things that I did pay attention to. And I did separate, you know what I'm saying? Like, her sense of style and all that. I didn't realize how in depth it was. But those were things that did attract me to her and made her stand out from other women that I was kicking it with. So I felt like that was unfair to hold that against her, you know what I mean? But though that's what we were talking about, compromising, merging your life together. Those are the kind of things that it took. So one of the sacrifices I've always made since we've been living together, I've always had to take the guest room closet or the smaller closet in another bedroom. So it is what it is, man. I've adjusted to it, but eventually the goal is to get his and her walk-in closets.
No, there you go. But hey, that's a sacrifice you got to make for a relationship and a healthy, functional relationship and marriage for that matter here. But let's bring this to our next section. Do you believe like women are actually falling in love with the man, or falling in love with what the man can do and what they can benefit from the man?
Based off what I'm seeing, man, I think there are still some women that are hopeless romantics that are genuinely interested in the man himself. But I'd say those are women that are closer to our age demographic, 35 plus, you know what I'm saying, older, generation. A lot of guys in the red pill say washed up or single mom or all this type of stuff. But that may be true, but that maybe, a lot of times they've had the experience to realize when they, bad experience to recognize something good when it comes across to them. But I think for the younger generation, that I think that definitely applies. I think they have this vision, they gas themselves up to believe that if a man buys them gifts and pays all their bills and gives them they get to be in sections and live this kind of luxury lifestyle, that they gonna be happy and that he's gonna be willing to provide that for them forever. And that's kind of another example of the delusion, where it's like, well, if you a dude that's living that turn-up party lifestyle generally ain't doing that for just one woman. Like that's kind of centered around putting him in a position to have multiple women. And then a chick that don't bring nothing to the table but wants and buy me this and do this for me. Most guys that are solid husbands that treat a woman with respect and ain't gonna abuse you or do all these type of things, like you said, they gonna want something in return, and you just being cute and giving them sex, when that's really the biggest issue for the guys that are successful with women, trying to only sleep with one woman. That's what require all the effort. You know what I mean? Like, not getting multiple women to want to sleep with him. So if that's his biggest issue and you not bringing nothing to the table but sex, then you're easily replaceable.
Absolutely. So, I think you have a sector of women that do, like I said, there are women that truly want to marry, and for the love of the man, but you do have a sector that want to get married for what the man can do for them, and how they can benefit and get into, I guess, an exploitative relationship, for a lack of better description there. And like I said, men just don't want to sign up for that.
Yeah, and I think like in terms of the infatuation, like when a woman meets a guy who's attractive enough, he got the swag, he got the job, I think most women are viewing that as they have something to be able to brag about and throw in other women's face. Like they're not really focusing on are we compatible and all that type of stuff. They're looking at it like he drive the kind of car that I can brag about, that I can put in my stories, and like all the stuff that they do to show that they to shit on other women and show them who they rocking with. And in turn, I think that gives a lot of guys the blueprint on how to portray themselves in a certain way or present a certain lifestyle to them that will get them to fall in love per se. Even if his intention is only for it to be a couple of months.
Yeah. And I think a lot of I think another thing is, I think the other sector women, I think they're more so in love with the idea of the marriage. The things we discussed earlier. The nice ring, the a nice wedding, a flashy wedding, a big time wedding, but not actually put the work in it to have a successful marriage and maintain the marriage. Because I think honestly, getting engaged, getting married, I think that's the easy part of it. But I think there's more to it. Just like kind of like when you buy a house, right? Buying a house is one thing, but when you get the house, there are things you have to maintain, right? You got to maintain the AC system, the heating system. You got to make sure the grass is cut.
A lot of costs.
There it is. Your furnace goes out. You got to go pay the cost to go get a new furnace or have somebody repair it. So I think the same applies to marriage.
I can agree with a lot of that. A lot of them, like we see, they want the pictures. They want to be able to post to be able to brag and make themselves look better than a lot of other women, even if they're not really in a good situation. I think that's kind of where the mentality of the women in this generation. They want to shit on other women and make their lives appear to be better than everybody else's, even if behind the scenes it's a mess. So I think that applies to the wedding too. They want to be able to have a man that is going to get the validation and approval from the other women. You know what I mean? I think that's ultimately what they're chasing. And whether or not he's going to be happy or want to stay with her long term don't really matter. Because if they do get with a dude that got a good job and is able to provide that type of lifestyle, and that's who they have their kids by, then divorcing him is going to provide them with child support. So you know what I'm saying? Four figures
child support.
So a lot of women will look at that as they winning. They gotta pay them $2,500 a month, plus they got a career, plus like all that type of stuff. So for a lot of women, that's success. I don't think they're getting married for long-term success. I think a lot of it is to secure the bag, or at least make sure you have that set up with a solid dude. All right, man. Looks like we up against the clock. We about to get up out of here, but before we go, man, I want to give another shout out to my man, Brother Soul Productions, for keeping this place for our background music. I want to remind y'all to continue supporting the podcast or our Cash App and our PayPal. Jay, I appreciate you linking up so we can get this episode knocked out. This has been another episode of the Hold a Husband Podcast, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.